If you've ever had a moment with your adopted child where you felt completely overwhelmed, like you're about to lose it, shut down, or just walk away, you're not alone. And in those moments, the question isn't, how do I fix everything? It's, how do I calm myself down right now? That's what this episode is about. What you're about to hear is a real and raw conversation I recorded in one take, because sometimes that's exactly what this kind of topic needs. Inside, I'm going to walk you through 7 simple ways to reset when things feel out of control, using something as simple as your daily rhythm, your environment, and even your senses. So if today is one of those hard days, take a breath, and let's walk through this together. Anchors of hope and healing are on the way. What do you do when you're having one of those hard days with your adopted child? You're at your wit's end. Maybe you feel like you're walking on eggshells, and you just need to catch your breath. I've been there. I know how you feel. And may I suggest, when these types of things happen in your life, it's time to practice respite. Hi neighbor, my name is Tim Maudlin. I would like to welcome you to another unplugged episode of Adoption Struggles and Support. Today I'm coming to you from my outdoor studio. Hopefully you can hear the birds singing. They have been serenading me as I've walked in my yard. The things I'm going to share with you today are things that I practice in my life. I practice what I preach. I want to share in this episode 7 ways to practice respite in your life by talking about some of my favorite ways to do it. I would encourage you to grab a pen and paper because I'm going to give you 7 different words to help flesh out ideas for you to practice respite. Write the word respite vertically on your paper. This is a technique that I've used in other episodes. There's something magical that happens when I see a word vertically, so I can start to develop ideas behind the concept of the word. These words that I'm going to share complement the idea of respite, and hopefully they will give you ideas how you can practice this too. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to share what this looks like for me. What it looks like for you will probably be different, and that's okay. But I want to encourage you to practice respite. It's something I've discovered I needed in my life and still need today. On a regular basis, I practice these types of things. Next to the letter R, write the word rhythm. One of the things that I've discovered that's essential in practicing respite is to have some kind of daily rhythm. Here's what it looks like for me. Every day I journal. Every day I have devotion time. And every day I walk. I don't know what your daily rhythm will look like, but these are 3 things that are non-negotiable for me. I journal, I have devotion time, and I walk. These have been so helpful for me to practice respite. I'm not going to consider the rest of these words in the order that the word respite is spelled. You'll understand as we go through this. But drop down to the letter I. And next to the letter I, write introspection. This is something that goes hand in hand with the idea of journaling and devotion. It's something I do every day. It's something also that I've talked about for a long time on this podcast because it's something I learned from my son Johnny when he was in residential. For those of you new to the show, when my son Johnny was in residential, something that he learned in order to heal his broken heart was he learned how to touch the feelings he couldn't put words to. The quote I share often is, you can think a feeling, you can speak a feeling, but if you want to touch a feeling, you need to write. That's something he did. And it's something that I've learned from him. You touch those feelings by writing. I do this every day. It doesn't look the same every day, but I make an attempt to write something, whether it's in my journal or on my phone. I journal every day. This morning I was up before 5 o'clock. I woke up, couldn't go back to sleep, and said, I need to honor this moment, this time, because more times than not, something happens during my journaling time that I needed to be aware of. This morning was no exception. I got up, opened my journal, and began to write. I just wrote a few words and I sat there for a moment. I subscribe to some different devotions. It's interesting and it's hard to explain, but more times than not, the devotions I get on a daily basis are verses that I need to hear. I sit with those verses. I meditate on them. I journal about them. I also use journaling to touch feelings when I'm frustrated, when I'm happy. I find those help me to reset, to regulate, to practice respite. So introspection, the second point. What that looks like for you, I would encourage you to journal. I've seen the power of it in my son's life. I've seen the power personally in my life. I know it works. I would encourage you to do it. Find what works for you, whether it's journaling, meditation. Find some time for introspection. These next few that I'm going to talk about are things that I don't get to do on a regular basis. They aren't part of my daily rhythm, but they're still important to practice respite. Let's look at the first letter, E. One of the ways that I practice respite is I find and do things that I enjoy doing, but don't get to do them very often. It's not something I can do on a regular basis, but I still enjoy doing them. And that's going to take us right to the letter P, because that's the next thing. It's one of the things that I enjoy doing that I don't get to do very often, is go to one of my favorite places. I visited this favorite place this past weekend. It's Little Nashville. It's about 70 miles from where I live, about 30 miles south of Indianapolis. I've been going to Nashville, Indiana my entire life. It's in Brown County, Indiana, about 2 miles from the state park. This place is also called the Little Smokies. We don't have mountains in Indiana, but we have some pretty cool hills, and the views are just amazing. Nashville is a tourist spot. Thousands of people go here. There's a 2-lane highway off the interstate that leads you there. You're driving through some really pretty areas, then all of a sudden, there's this little town with all these little shops. It's changed a lot since I was a kid, but it's still a magical place. So I love going to my favorite place, and that's Nashville, Indiana. Let's go to the second letter, E. Whenever I go to one of my favorite places, and in this case it's Nashville, I like to take an easygoing person, one of my favorite people. And my favorite person is my wife. She and I both were deciding last weekend what we were going to do, and she even suggested, let's go to Nashville. In order to achieve respite, you need to spend time with some easygoing people. Now, hopefully that's more often than not you're around those types of individuals. But we all know that there's no escaping difficult people. I just make it a practice not to spend a lot of time with them, and especially some of my fun time I don't want to spend with them. In this case, My wife and I went to Nashville. We can just hang out together, enjoy one another's company, and have a fun day. When we go to Nashville, there are some things that we experience while we're there. And that takes us to the next letter, the letter T. One of the ways I practice respite is to find some of my favorite things to taste. And when I go to Nashville, some of the favorite things I like to taste are there. There's a popcorn store that has, I don't know how many different flavors of caramel popcorn. Every time we go to Nashville, I get the maple caramel popcorn. It's delicious. I've never gotten it anywhere else, but when I go there, I make sure to get that. And when I taste it, there's just something about it that calms me down. Just the taste alone brings back memories of special times when my wife and I have gone there. When my wife and my boys have gone there, we make it a point to go to that store and get some caramel popcorn. There's another store just a few shops away that I like to go to because of the taste. It's the Jack and Jill Nut Shop. Maybe you've gone there if you're familiar with Indiana and Nashville. But this shop, we talked to the owner Saturday, and he said, we've been here about 60 years. When you walk in, it brings back all memories from my childhood because I would get the same thing when I was a little boy. Cashews and pepitas. Now, pepitas are Mexican pumpkin seeds. This is the first place I ever had them. And frankly, it's the best place I've ever gotten pepitas to eat. But the taste of those, again, when you walk in, you know they're going to be hot. And there's something about roasted cashews or roasted pepitas that just bring out the flavor even more. And this takes me to the letter S, because really when I walk into the store, before I even tasted anything, I can smell them. And the smell alone, again, when you're practicing respite and you can tap into those different senses, the calming effect that has on you is so overwhelming when I walk in and then I get to taste them. They will survive the trip back home, but sometimes I've managed to eat quite a few of them. Again, that's just a very favorite thing for me to buy when I visit this particular town. Another smell that I wanted to share with you is just a few stores away as well. It's the leather shop in Nashville. As soon as I walk through the door, I smell the leather. And again, it just calms me down. I don't know about you, but there's certain tastes and there's certain smells that I find that bring back memories, bring back feelings that I find calm me. And that's the whole point of this exercise, is to identify those things that can bring you calm and peace and reality, bring you respite. When I walk into that store, the smell of the leather. And I'll give you a bonus on this one. It goes back to the letter T again, touch. The touch of leather, the softness of it. There's all different kinds, but for me, my favorite is the touch. And I remember going in this store last year when we went to Nashville, and I asked the owner, I said, "Do you sell scraps?" And he said, "Oh yeah, go upstairs and there's a bushel basket with a bunch of scraps," because they make their own items there to sell, but they save the scraps, put it in a basket for the customers. You can go upstairs and whatever you can fit in a Ziploc bag, you can purchase for X amount of dollars. I've done that a couple of times now because I like the smell, I like the touch, and I like to use these for bookmarks, or in the case of a harder leather, I use it as the backing for my journal. So it's a win-win. The smell, the touch, respite. That's the idea here. So we've completed the acronym with 7 different words to give you some ideas. So let's get to the daily doable. And as we go into the daily doable, I just want to go through 7 different ways, these 7 different words again. When you find yourself needing respite, needing to calm down, to regulate yourself, recharge, look at this acronym again. For the letter R, find what your daily rhythm looks like. Again, identify those things that you can do on a daily basis to have a rhythm in your life so that when things start to get chaotic, you can fall back to these things to help regulate yourself. What does that daily rhythm look like for you? Again, I don't know what that is, but practice respite by finding a daily rhythm. Surround yourself with easygoing people. This is something I hope you can do on a regular basis. You're going to have to deal with difficult people. That's just a given. And sometimes we can be difficult ourselves as individuals. Find those individuals, those people, your people, that can be your anchors. Smells. What smells help to calm you down? I don't drink coffee, but I love the smell of it. Maybe it's going to a coffee shop. There you get the smells. You get the taste. Okay? So find that thing, those smells that are your favorite ones. Your favorite places. Maybe you get to go to a favorite place more times than not. I don't get to go to Nashville that often. I don't get to go there as much as I would like, but find a favorite place and make it a point to go there. Find time, the letter I, for introspection. I hope that can be a daily habit for you as part of your daily rhythm. I know for me, again, it's been invaluable. Back to the letter T, the taste. I mentioned a couple of ideas there. Maybe it's food like I mentioned earlier, or maybe it's a coffee shop. I don't know what that is for you, but identify the tastes that help calm you down. And then the letter E, the final letter, those places you enjoy going, those things you enjoy doing, identify those, and as often as you can, try to do them. The thing about this, whenever you know you need respite, I hope I've impressed upon you the idea that you can be proactive with daily rhythms. But when you know that you're in need of respite after difficult times, seek out those individuals that will give you a chance to recharge. There are people in your life, I'm sure, there are friends, there's family members that you can say, I just need a few hours away, and then, pick one of the things on this list and do it. Maybe it's a few hours, maybe it's a weekend away. Ask people. A lot of people, don't volunteer this, but they'd be more than willing to help you. And speaking of that, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to invite you to our community, because there you will find easygoing people who want to be your encouragers, people who want to be your anchors. You will not find difficult people in our community. They're not allowed. And so I would like to invite you to become a member of our community, get the respite you need there. There'll be a link in the show notes that will help you to find us and become a part of a community that really cares about you and your parenting journey. That's all for this episode. I hope these things have encouraged you and given you ideas so you can practice respite in your life. Again, I know how important it's been for me, and I know if you will practice these things, it can help you to be a better parent. It can help you as you navigate some of the challenges that the adoption journey can present. You can do this. Remember, you aren't alone. And I hope that you will take these things to heart and put them into practice. Until next time, this is Tim, encouraging you to do what you can now.